pattern called the gray ghost. So, and that's been around for about over 100 years too. And they're two extremely popular flies. Personally, I use the black ghost as a go-to fly. I use it all year round. It's in different sizes, and it's been very successful for me. That's why it's one of my favorites. Now, I don't know if you're in the habit, but I always smash down the barb of my hook. I usually do it in my vise. You got to be careful though, because sometimes it'll change the gap of the hook. So at any rate,
why do you smash the barb?
Make it easier.
To make it easier on the fish.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it slides in and out instead of tearing. Okay, because we release the fish. There's only a few basic materials to this fly. We have black floss body, a silver tinsel ribbing, a yellow tail, a yellow throat, and a white wing. And,
Yellow throat?
right. And I'll show you that in a second, okay? So the first thing you do is you get your bobbin squared away.
Yeah.
And
I've done that many.
There's video.
This is live. I better watch my mouth, huh? So you start your thread. Give yourself room at the front. This is how I do it. Try to get a good foundation. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to be covered up with floss. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a little tail on here, okay? Dorothy, it would probably be better just to watch instead of trying to go along with it, and then do it.
Okay.
And we'll take some barbules off of this feather here, and we're going to make a little tail. That's not thick enough. We want enough tail that the fish can see it. That's kind of flimsy. Wow, Dan. Now you don't want a long tail on this, just a little tab of a tail. About that much. So we'll get that secured here. And you don't need to trim that, because if you wrap that down, it helps create bulk for the body. Okay, we'll bring that thread back to a working position. The next thing we're going to put on this fly is some silver tinsel. And one of the interesting things about this tinsel is if you cut an angle at the end, it helps with the tie-in, and you tie it in that way. When you fold it over and start to make your wraps, there's not a lump. So, and you want to tie the silver side out. Okay, now we're going to bring our working thread forward, and we're going to put in a floss body. This is black floss. This is 4-strand. What I'm going to do is I'm going to double it up and actually make it thicker. And you secure that floss at the front. Wind back to where it got thicker because of the tail. Now, one of the things that I do here is, because there are going to be a lot of hands moving here, I secure this thread and then cut it off. Now I can make my wraps with my floss coming forward. This way, because that working thread is now gone, you don't have to keep bumping it and moving it all the time. Wrap this back. You try to make it pretty uniform. A little taper on the front and the back.
I have a question. Can you use lead?
You can use anything you want. You can make it heavier. You can make it lighter.
Yes, today I half hitched there with the floss.
Right. You don't have to do that, but I'll put my working thread back on. I want to trim that off.
You know what? You can
Secure that. I usually do 2 behind, 1 in front. Trim that off.
Okay,
Tidy it up a little bit.
let me get a close shot of that shape of the body there. Okay, so you want the kind of cigar shape?
Kind of cigar shape, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And now we take our floss and we wrap. Try to make even wraps, even spaces on this tinsel.
What's that hook we're using?
This is a 4X long. You can make it any size that you want. Okay. Now, the throat hackle is more of the yellow. You take a pretty good pinch of this from here. I don't really care for these feathers, but it is what we have. And you can apply this any way you want. One of the things that I do is I kind of I put that fly upside down, so it makes it easier to secure that throat hackle. You can square it away, secure it, tidy up a little bit here. I can't see this morning. Didn't have maybe I had too much coffee, I don't know. Now we're going to put on the wing. And you take 2 of these streamer hackles and you want to reverse the one and lay it on the side of the other. This is try to get the tips even. And before you do any cutting here, you want to measure, and you want that hackle feather to be just about as long as the tail. So you would pinch off there. Remove these fibers, strip them off. Now, an interesting little trick for helping streamer hackles to lay flat on the hook or to stand straight up is you can take that round stem and flatten it. And then that gives your pinch point and it keeps it from rolling.
Tricks of the trade.
That way they don't roll. If that hackle stem is round, then they have a tendency to roll. But if you flatten it at your tie-in point, it'll lock it in. And now you just finish your head. A lot of times, and I'm pretty sure the original pattern, they added one more feather on this. It was a jungle cock eye on both sides to suggest eyes of the fish. One of the things that I do after I build up this head, do we have a whip finish tool here anywhere?
Hand these out.
Oh, thanks. You can make this head a little bit bigger and you can get these stick-on eyes. And so what I would do, sometimes I make that head a little bit bigger, put a stick on, put Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails on in black. You can use clear, but I use black. And then after that dries, I stick the eye on and then put a coat of Sally Hansen's clear over the eye. And then that secures that eye. You can do that if you want. You don't have to. And then you can just do some whip finishes, 2 or 3 whip finishes here. Just to lock that down. And that's the fly. That is your Black Ghost streamer.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Yeah, that came out a little long, but that'll work.